Hi everyone, and welcome to Sports Watch. Dana White calls out Tyson Fury and challenges him to make a fight with John Jones to settle once and for all who is the baddest man on the planet. All this came about when Joe Rogan made a comment on his podcast saying that if John Jones and Tyson Fury are locked in a room, then he is putting all his chips on John Jones. He further added that Fury is an amazing boxer, but he doesn't have a chance in hell of making it out of that room. Now, this comment caught the attention of Tyson Fury, who responded in the usual fashion. First, by shitting on Joe Rogan, and then by saying that no man born from his mother can beat him. Jones also responded in video and basically laughed off Tyson Fury's response. He said that if Tyson really wanted to get into the octagon, he can get in contact with Dana White and they can make it happen. This back and forth went on, and Fury on his Instagram handle responded to John Jones by saying that he isn't a cage fighter but a boxer, the best boxer, and if him and Jones wanted to fight, it has to be in a boxing match and in a boxing ring. If Jones is interested, then he can call the Gypsy King. The MMA media also carried this news for quite some time before UFC President Dana White himself addressed the issue. Now, in the 1990s, the moniker of the baddest man on the planet was usually reserved for the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. Mike Tyson, with his vicious knockouts and ruthless aggression, fitted the description perfectly of the baddest man of the planet. Now, the UFC didn't exist as a sport back then, and in the late 90s, it was still a sport in its infancy. However, in a fight between a boxer and an MMA fighter, a boxer is basically handicapped, and a MMA fighter has a huge advantage as he can simply take the boxer down on the ground and smash him or submit him. Perfect example was James Toney versus Randy Couture. It was a mismatch, and pretty much no one wanted to see it again. Years later, the opposite happened when Conor McGregor boxed Floyd Mayweather. It was again non-competitive as Floyd basically carried Conor for most of the rounds before ultimately stopping him. Dana White suffered a huge setback as his champion was badly beaten by an aging Floyd Mayweather, and since Floyd was the A side, Dana and the UFC could not do anything about it. It was boxing coming out on top, and since then, Dana has never expressed the desire to put on something similar until now. Having learned from his previous misadventure, Dana made it a point to say that the bout has to be in the octagon. However, for Dana, he is not the A side even here, and we'll get to that a bit later. Before, let's make a comment about Dana's contradictions. Just a few weeks back, the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Francis Ngannou, walked out on his contract after failing to come to terms with the UFC. His main point of contention was to be allowed to box, notably Tyson Fury. Dana White repelled the idea back then and even said that they don't do things like that in the UFC. A week detached from his statement, and he says he's ready to put on Jones versus Fury in the octagon. So he's contradicting his own comments. Dana also suggests that John Jones is the baddest man on the planet. He says this after Francis Ngannou has left the UFC. Francis had been wanting to fight Jones for a few years. At the time, the UFC said that Jones wanted huge money. After Francis knocked out Stipe, Dana himself said when asked about the Jones fight that after watching tonight's performance, Jones should consider moving to 185 pounds. At one moment he was all for Francis, but the moment he leaves, he says that Jones would have beat him. Francis wants to take easy fights. He makes all sorts of insinuations. Francis Ngannou never lost the UFC title, so technically he is still the lineal UFC heavyweight champion. Unless he loses, no one can actually lay claim to be the real heavyweight champion. So to imply that the winner of Jones versus Fury is the baddest man on the planet isn't factually correct either. Now Dana and John Jones is in the A side in the Fury fight as well. Tyson Fury makes over $20 million per fight. That's nearly 4 times more than John Jones does. Fury signed with ESPN a few years earlier for $100 million over 5 fights. So the boxing heavyweight champion, who is substantially the biggest draw, is definitely going to call the shots. At the end of the day, it's all about the money. And boxing still generates more money than the UFC. So if a fight between Jones and Fury ever gets made, it would definitely be on the terms of Fury. Moreover, what can Tyson Fury gain by fighting John Jones and beating him? The answer is practically nothing, because if it's in boxing, it will be deemed as a mismatch, and if it's in the UFC, Jones would smash Fury, and again it will be considered a mismatch. So Tyson Fury, being the businessman, he would not be lured into a MMA match against John Jones. Since he is the A side, it will be on his terms, and Dana White will once again lose out. So this hypothetical matchup never happens, and if it does so by any miracle, it would most definitely not be in the octagon. Dana, despite his bravado, can't do much about it either. The chances of Francis boxing Fury is also bleak, but that has more chance of happening than Jones versus Fury, because Francis actually wants to box Tyson Fury, unlike John Jones. So let me know in the comment section what you feel. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel.